A first impression is generally made within the first 7 to 17 seconds of meeting someone. So that's like nothing. That's being like, hi, my name is, how are you? Like, that's it. That's your first impression. Yeah, like that's it. And a huge part of someone's first impression of you is your physical appearance.
In 1837, Horace Mann created the education system, a system at the time designed to pump out factory workers and professors. The same system that is still being used today in the 21st century. Now, Mann's system is backfiring. We are being moulded by the same industrial system that has existed for close to 200 years. That system delivers us into a digital economy that has no need of our outdated skills. This isn't our teachers' fault. This isn't the government's fault. This is due to a rapidly changing world full of technology and unforeseen circumstances. And us Gen Zs are caught in the middle. Welcome to the Driven Young Podcast, the podcast for stressed, overwhelmed young Australians, teaching you practical life skills you can implement now to set yourself up in life. And now your host, Byron Dempsey.
Welcome back to the Driven Young Podcast. Today we are talking about job interviews and how to crush it so you can land whatever job you go for. I have personally only done a few interviews in my life, but the ones I did I was massively underqualified for and I actually landed them. I've also been on the other side and interviewed many people now, so I have both perspectives. However, today we will be learning from Ishana Pilger. Ashana is a general manager of Empower You, a company I have partnered up with and I'm a massive fan of. The founder of this company actually came on the show and is one of my all-time favorite interviews, Mr. Brent Williams, episode 32. I saw Ashana do a presentation on job interviewing techniques recently and I was super impressed. I then quickly realized how valuable this would be for you guys, so I asked her to come on. She mentions it in the episode, but she has applied and successfully won many jobs and internships, including a recent internship with Google, from which 2,300 people applied. This episode is super tactical. We take you through the entire journey of a job interview, from making a resume, how to dress, to first impressions, having some simple questions prepared, a simple storytelling formula so you can answer their questions, all the way to following up after the interview is done. So definitely stick around for this one. I think there is so much value here that you can massively benefit from when you apply for your next position. As per usual, guys, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram if you enjoyed this episode. I love chatting with you guys. Also, please reach out to Ashana if you have any questions or if you enjoyed the episode as well. And just a quick reminder, I created a goal setting template for all of you. So if you're struggling to set goals, I highly recommend you check it out. It's free and it's linked in the description. It's also in my Instagram bio or my TikTok bio or basically wherever I have a presence. Now, over to Ashana. Ishana, welcome so much to the podcast.
Thank you. Awesome to be here.
Really excited to have you on. We've been trying to tee this up for a while now.
Yeah, it's been a while. Long time coming, but
yeah.
excited.
But as I mentioned, you did a presentation at one of the events we were at all about how to land a job or, how to good job interviewing technique. And so I thought that'd be an awesome topic to cover. But before we jump into the meat of all that sort of stuff, I'd love to know a little bit about your story, kind of who you are and what you're currently up to.
Yeah, totally. So look, as you know, right now, I'm the general manager for a company called Empower You, running like personal development, Tony Robbins style courses for young people. So as I'm sure you can imagine, like super rewarding job. I absolutely love it. But it's not the kind of career or job that I really saw myself pursuing, especially when I was in high school. And kind of working out what I wanted to do. I'm half Indian. And so growing up, I think, and not that my parents really ever like said anything or like pressured me in any way, but I definitely felt like my two career options were like doctor or lawyer. Yeah. Like that was it. That was it.
Very cultural expectation.
Yeah, exactly. Like my whole mum side of the family, bar my mum, are doctors.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like, that's what you got to do. But I sort of quickly realized in high school, like, I don't like science. Like, this isn't, I get squeamish around blood. Like, that was not going to, it was really not going to work out well. And so I sort of started to turn, well, maybe like I could be a lawyer. I could do that. And so I was in high school and like, I started watching Suits. I was like, yeah, that would be
bad mistake.
Cool. Yeah. Like the totally like sexy version of being a lawyer.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, that looks really cool. And like I started doing legal studies and I was like, yeah, this is really interesting. But then I had people in my ear saying, well, you should go and try out the career before you go into it.
Yeah.
And so I think I was like in year 10 and
it's kind of like you go on dates before you start getting a relationship.
Yeah,
You don't just jump into a relationship.
Exactly.
You have a few dates first to see if you like them.
Yeah, like law is like a 4-year degree.
Yeah,
that's a big time commitment and a big financial commitment. So I was very grateful that I had sort of people giving me that advice, because that's a massive thing to jump into with no real reality of what it's like.
And law is the biggest one I get from listeners on the show. I'll get people who are like, I want to do this, but I'm doing a law degree. I hear it all the time. It's always a law degree. And I'm not sure why. I think it is that kind of social expectation, or I think law maybe opens up to a few different pathways.
Yeah.
But it is such a common one.
Yeah, it's really interesting now, because a lot of universities are actually, you can't just take a straight law degree anymore. You have to do like law and something else.
Yeah.
Which I think is really good, because so many people do a law degree now because they're like, it's kind of like prestigious and like it's a cool career, or they're like me and they've watched Suits and they're like, this is cool. I had my best friend at the time, her mum worked at like a top tier law firm in Canberra. And so I asked her if I could just, spend the week with her and see, what it's really like. And I had the best week. Like, it was really, really great. I was so looked after. Like, they took me out to lunch and coffee all the time, and I got to like sit in on really cool meetings and like go talk to the judges at like the High Court. It was really, really cool. I'm grateful that I had kind of like the foresight to not just think about my experience, but really look at the kind of world around me and what everyone else was doing. And I saw like these lawyers and barristers and everyone working there getting in at 7 o'clock in the morning and leaving at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
That's insane.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't want to be doing that.
5-6 days a week. That's literally no time to yourself.
Yeah. For me, I wanted that work-life balance. I wanted to be able to, one day be able to, spend quality time with my family, or, go traveling, do all those things, and not spend my entire life like behind a desk. And so, I quickly realized that law was not for me.
Despite the fact you had a good time yourself, you had the self-awareness to go, oh, well, this is what law is actually like. Because obviously I'm going to get a very, highly treated, looked after version if you're here for a week versus if you're actually here for 3, 4, 5, 10 years when you're seeing what the reality is. Yeah,
exactly. So I was glad that I had that sort of foresight to look for those things. Yeah. Because it's so important. Like, look at what everyone else is doing, not just what you're doing, because that's going to be you.
Yeah, awesome.
So I did that, and then the whole thing was, well, like, now what? Like, I'm not going to be a doctor, I'm not going to be a lawyer. So like, what am I going to be? And so that was when I started just doing a lot of work experience, a lot of internships, because I was like, well, school's not really teaching me anything about what I want to do. So if
they don't. Like, careers advisors are usually like, I didn't even know mine. I don't think I saw her once.
Yeah, look, me either.
I think we did like a 40-minute session and they opened up like a book and we went through it and went, here's what you can be. And it's like, what? It's so like 1950s sort of style. Yeah,
I know. So I got no real value in terms of, career guidance from my high school. And so I think just took matters into my own hands and started like looking online, like internships in Canberra, internships in Sydney, internships in Melbourne for, marketing or for media or for all these different kinds of things that I was like, I could maybe see myself doing that. And it was great because it taught me a lot about, the kinds of careers that I want to go into, the kinds of careers I don't want to go into.
Yes, which is just as important.
Yeah, what I want from a job and what I don't want from a job, all those sorts of things. And so that was really super valuable. My most recent internship was at Google, which was really cool.
Well, how recent was this?
This was literally just last summer. So December 2019 I started. And it was like a 3-month summer internship. It was really, really cool. If you've seen that movie,
The Internship.
It was pretty much very similar to that,
what,
to be
slides and food and
like not just like food, like a sandwich and like a banana and a coffee, like full buffet style breakfast, lunch and dinner. All day, like every day, kitchens on every single floor, packed with like it was amazing.
Wow. That's
really
so
cool. Yeah. And so I did my summer internship there. And again, like I had that thing where I was treated very, very well. Like there are a lot of very cool perks and benefits of working for a company like Google. But again, taking a step back, at the end of the day, I looked around and I was like, can I really see myself doing this, the actual job? And ultimately, that's the most important thing. Not the perks and the benefits, but the actual job. Can you see yourself doing that? for that, I was like, I don't think so. And so, yeah, despite everything, I kind of like all of the wonderful things that it brought, I was like, yeah, no, not for me.
Yeah.
So now I'm here working with Empower You and loving it.
Yeah.
Really loving it.
And just to clarify, like Brent, who runs Empower You, he was episode 32 on this podcast. So that's kind of like the linking thing here.
Yes.
And so you're the general manager for this company, meaning you're basically running the company. Let's be real.
A little bit, yeah.
Brent does all the speaking.
Brent gets up on stage, he does his thing. And
Yeah. So you're running the events, you're looking after everything. And obviously you said that's very rewarding because you're helping young people, which is kind of what this podcast is all about, helping young people.
Yeah.
And I want to link back to the Google thing there, because the reason, we kind of brought you on is to talk about job interviewing techniques.
Yes.
And what didn't you say, like Google was something like 6,000 people down to X, it just kept going down.
Yeah, it was like 2,600 people put
2,600.
in. Yeah, 2,600 people put in an application.
Okay, a lot.
A lot, yeah. Whether it's 2,600 or 6,000, still, yeah. So a lot of people put in an application. And then there was like an online test that you had to do. Then there was like 3 or 4 phone interviews, then in-person interviews, and then finally the offers got whittled down. And so, yeah, you saw, they kind of showed us afterwards the numbers for each step. And it was intense to see like, wow, this many people applied and like only 10 people got offered a position.
And do they have like those weird questions like in the movies, like gravity questions and like, just like if you were 2 centimeters tall inside a thing, like really random questions.
So I was like really worried in my interviews, like what if I get asked, how many ping pong balls can fit into like an airplane, or those weird questions. Because obviously, in the movie they have that, and that's kind of the whole thing. But actually no. So I found out that they actually have gotten into trouble before for asking those questions, because they're just not relevant to the role.
Yeah.
Like. Why is me knowing how many ping pong balls fit in an airplane equal to me being able to do a job?
Well, what I heard one, it was the question they ask, and they do this quite a bit. This question is, how many liters of coffee is drunk in London per day? And so they don't care about the answer. They want to see how you figure it out.
Exactly.
So if you start freaking out going, I don't know, how am I supposed to know that? It's not a very good sign that you'll work under pressure. But if you go, all right, well, let's say on average, one person has 1 coffee per day. There's 5 million people in London. Let's times that by this. You'd probably get an estimate of about this. That's what they want to see.
Yeah, exactly. It's like in high school when you would have a maths test and the teacher would be like, show you're working out because we'll give you half marks.
Yes.
Like that's literally it. So yeah, I call those like hypothetical questions, and you get them a lot in interviews. They're not really like those weird out of the box random questions, but they'll be job relevant. So like you might get, if you're going for say a sales role, you might get asked, if you have a book of 100 clients and you had to double their revenue in X amount of time and you had a team of 4 to help you do it, like what would you do? Right? And it's about talking through, your thinking and explaining your logic. They don't really care about your answer in the end.
Yeah.
But what they do care about is how well you can communicate your thought process and get what's in your head out, verbally.
Yeah, and it's important to understand that. So if you are in an interview and you get one of those, left of field questions, you don't freak out because you go, Byron and Ashana told us about this. All I have to do is figure it out and tell them how I'm thinking. So, all right, well, if we had, 100 people need to double it, well, that means each person would have to do about 25 sales each. How do we get 25 sales each? Well, we need to break that down per day. That's 800 calls over whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's what they want to see. And even if you're so far off the answer, they want to see that quick kind of figuring it out, and they're putting you under pressure for a reason.
Totally. A tip that I always say is, and I've used this a lot, is especially with the hypothetical questions where they're giving you, numbers and data and information, I always just ask them to repeat the question.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be like, hey, can you just repeat that? They're not going to think that you're like slow or like, not understanding.
Yeah.
Like that interviewers are totally fine with you asking
I would say it's actually good because it shows that you're trying to listen.
Yeah, exactly. And just, even though you've heard it the first time, it just gives you that extra 5 or 10 seconds to like formulate your thoughts, think about what you're going to say, and then, get it out effectively and efficiently. Yeah. You don't want to blab on either. So
100%. Anyways, we've kind of gone in a bit. Let's go back to the interviewing. So obviously, do you want to cover letters and stuff, or should we just jump into like the actual interviewing?
Yeah, I mean, like quickly on cover letters and resumes and all of that. I think that you want to keep them short and sweet. You want to keep them full of like action words. So instead of being like, we like, or just kind of describing your role, right? What were you specifically responsible for, and what did you do, and what action did you take to make those goals happen? I always think that that's way more impressive than just describing what your role was as like customer service agent or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like to really talk through all the points efficiently and personally. Keep it personal.
Yeah, cool. And do we want to make it pretty? Like with a resume, what do you reckon? Because I think obviously it depends. If you're going for a design job, you want to have a pretty resume. Yeah. But if you're going for like a lawyer job, like or a engineering job, do we need a pretty resume? What are your thoughts on that?
Totally. I think 100% like match it to the kind of role that you're going for. Me personally, I like to give it some level of flair because I think that communicates a little bit of personality too.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're going for like a super, professional formal job as like a lawyer or anything like that, you probably want to keep it looking quite professional.
Yeah. And my hot tip would be Canva. Like just go on Canva and use
Canva.
Yeah, go on Canva, search resume. It's free. You're gonna get like 100 resume templates. Just pick one that suits you and just fill it in.
Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. It's so good, so good. The other thing with resumes is photos. I've heard like mixed things on photos. Some recruiters I've talked to have said that photos are fine to have on a resume. Others are like, no, we don't want one at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really interesting. I think that it's because something to do with sort of subconscious bias.
Yeah, if they're attractive, we don't want to. We don't want to just bring them on because they're attractive.
Exactly.
All that sort of stuff.
So photos can be hit and miss. I tend to leave photos out now, but yeah, up to you.
Awesome. All right. So once we've got your resume done, what's the next steps? How do we prepare for it? What are we doing when we into the door? Like, let's go from kind of entering the room to the whole process and finishing up.
Totally. Well, I mean, first of all, you're probably going to get a call that's like, we liked your resume. We'd like to invite you in for a job interview. And so then you're like, okay, like, let's go. In terms of preparing for a job interview, there's a few key things that I definitely like to do. The first thing is read the job description. Read it again, and then read it one more time. Like, it's so important. It's literally like your roadmap to success.
Yeah.
It is your Blue's Clues. Like, that is telling you every single thing that you need to know in order to succeed in this role.
Yeah.
It's telling you exactly what they're looking for.
Think it's like an exam. It's like, this is what's going to be in the exam.
Exactly.
Just study for this. So when you get an exam, you're not going to be shocked.
Exactly. And so I always read through the job description over and over again. And then pick out kind of key things that you think you could speak to in terms of your experience in the past. So if they're looking for someone that can work well in a team, then, and you've had experience and it can be from anything. It doesn't have to be from a past job. It can be from like working in a group assignment at school, or like through some volunteering, or in your sport, or whatever it is.
The sports, like if you notice he's into footy, you can see he's got a footy, poster or something in there. It'd be like, oh yeah, this one time when I was playing footy or something, I had this happen or this happen. That's going to go really far. Totally.
Yeah. If you can find those little connections with your interviewer as well, so good. Like from one of my Google internships, one of my interviewers was Indian. And so we had like a 5 or 10 minute chat before we even started the interview about how I'm half Indian and like my name and where that came from and all that sort of stuff. So, and it quickly built that rapport. It made us feel so much more comfortable.
I do that with New Zealand as well, because I grew up in New Zealand. So whenever you meet a Kiwi, it's like instant rapport. It's
exactly.
Like, oh, you grew up there? I know someone there. No way. You know them? What? That's awesome. Bang, you're in.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that something that a lot of people kind of stress about with interviews is that the interviewer is there to kind of like pick holes in their like thing.
You sort of thing,
like freak you out, or like try and put you on the spot. And they're so not. Like, all they want you to do is succeed. Like, they wouldn't be wasting their time in a room with you if they didn't already think that you had some level of ability to do the job.
And they want to hire someone.
Exactly. Like, they want you to do well. They're on your team. So that's the first thing about interviews, is like, just take a deep breath, because like they're there to help you out and make it a good experience.
I think the movies might give us that thing where there's a lot of people in movies and the scenes with job interviews. It's often quite intimidating, and it's like a whole process. But it's like, my mum's interviewed heaps of people this year, and when they walk in, they're like, I hope she's going to be the one. I hope she's going to be one. And they ask questions. It's like, you're exactly right. They want you to win.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a good tip as well for just like getting ready for an interview.
Like mindset.
It's just like, don't stress yourself out, because there's no need to be. But yeah, so read the job description. That's going to be really important. Also, do a lot of company research. You want to show that you know what it is that you're getting into. And I think that when you're going into a job interview, they're generally looking for two things. They're looking for person job fit, i.e. can you, the person, perform the job and the role? Like, do you have the skills, qualifications, experience to just do the job? Then they're also looking for person culture fit.
100%.
So do you have the like personality, behaviors, attributes, all those kinds of things that fit in with the company culture and values, right? So like when I was going for my Google internship, I found out about this thing called Googliness, which is how they kind of describe their company culture and what they're looking for in their employees. It's things like taking initiative and enjoying having fun and being, you know, accountable and all those kinds of things that one might generally think are just like typical, like normal characteristics.
I was about to say, that sounds like something like most jobs want.
Yeah.
Or they say they want.
Yeah, exactly. You know, being comfortable with ambiguity, all those kinds of things. And so I found out about that through a website called Glassdoor, which is super, super helpful. And I would recommend anyone like check that out going into a job interview, because it's literally like reviews of companies. And it's all these employees being like, my company's like this, the interview process is like this, the good parts about it are this, the bad parts about it are this. So super helpful if you can find a company.
And that's Glassdoor?
Glassdoor, yeah. Would 100% recommend checking that out. But yeah, so I found out about that. And so I looked up, you know, what Googliness was and what they were looking for. And then I made sure that throughout my interviews, I like peppered that in, you know, in my examples that I talked about from my past experience, in the way that I presented myself and just like the personality that I presented during those interviews. And so obviously it helped. But yeah, so do your company research on the culture and of course the job as well. Yeah. That's going to be really important.
And culture's more important than it's ever been, I think. Yeah. Like that's what everyone wants. A great example I used was episode 30, we had James on and he's talking about like he's done quite a few internships and stuff with investment banking.
Cool.
And investment banking is ridiculous hours, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like when they're looking for someone, they want someone who can do the job, as you mentioned, has the qualifications, all that. But more importantly, they want someone they're going to have dinner with every single night. They're going to be spending like, 14 hours a day with this person. Yeah. If they don't connect or you don't fit the team culture, there's no way you're going to last.
Well, exactly.
And so it's like such an important part of the role.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, touching kind of back on university, everyone's got a degree now.
Yes.
Everyone's got those skills and qualifications. So it's about what extra can you bring? And oftentimes it's just, do you have the right personality fit for what we're looking for? So that's going to be really important, is just doing your research on that. And then the last thing I would say to prepare is have an answer to the question of like why you want to work at this company and like do this job. Because every interview, they're always going to be like, so why do you want the job? Right? And like half the time your answer very well could just be, I need money.
I'm desperate and you're my last resort.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I got bills to pay, like, I got a car to save up for, I got a house I want to buy, or whatever it is, But yeah, that's not the answer you're going to give in the interview. So generally for that kind of question, I would say that you're either going to, it's really dependent on the job. So if you're going for a job that's, you see that as being your career, like you're going to go down this path and this is what
like
you
a
really
long-term job.
Yeah. You're probably going to want to say things along the lines of, I really see myself going, into this role or this industry. I love what your company is doing with X, Y, and Z, particularly if they're, quite an innovative company. Again, that's where the company research comes in really handy. Or, I'm really excited to learn and grow in this role. And I want to bring a lot of value to you and the team as well. That's a really important point to say. Is they're not just doing you a favor by giving you the job. You're really going to provide that
it's
company
super important.
value.
I'm super excited to get in this job because I want to learn from you and the team. I want to learn about how to do this.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a great experience for me.
Yeah,
it's exactly. Like, bang, that's what they want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how I would approach it if it's that kind of role. If it's more of a casual job, like part-time or whatever it is that you're kind of doing maybe through school, then you're going to focus more on like the soft skill things like, I love working in a team. I love, having that customer interaction, those kinds of things that are role relevant. You're not going to be like a checkout chick for the rest of your life kind of thing,
And it's like, it could be even as simple as I want to build up my communication skills for a checkout chick example.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to build up my communication skills because I think it'd be a really valuable part going forward. And I know this job could provide that opportunity for me.
Yeah. Like
showing
that you're excited to grow is massive in job interviews.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I know we're probably going to get into it next, but the storytelling framework that you use. Do we use that there or do we save that for later on?
Yeah, so that kind of leads into the types of questions that you get asked in job interviews. So there's generally 3 types of questions that I see a lot in job interviews. We already touched on the first ones, the hypothetical questions.
Yeah.
So the other 2, firstly, are the kind of like introductory questions. So they're the kind of like the tell me a bit about yourself or like talk to me about your past experience kinds of questions. My key with those is keep it really short and sweet. They don't care about what you had for breakfast that morning. They don't care about what you did for your 15th birthday party.
Yeah.
Like, keep it super relevant. So for me, I would do like name, age, relevant like study or work experience, and then like one fun fact about you that kind of shares your personality. So if it's me, I'd be like, hi, my name's Ishana. I'm 22. I've recently completed my Bachelor's of Commerce at the ANU, majoring in marketing and international business. I'm currently the general manager at a company called Empower You, running personal development courses for young people. And I really love helping people and helping them to thrive in their environment.
Bang.
Short and sweet.
And it sounds like, obviously you want to do short and sweet, but some people ramble on.
Yeah.
They just go on and on about themselves. And it's like, that's not a good look.
Yeah.
Like, you just need to be short and sweet. Let them ask the question, give them a nice, concise answer. And if you can spit it out like you just did, that's so impressive.
Yeah.
Because not many people will do that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you can have just a little formula for it and just like rattle it off, that way you can kind of get to the meat of the interview.
Yeah.
Like, that's really just, I think of the interview as like a sandwich. You've got the bread, which is like the fun, like the first impressions and initial conversation. You've got the meat, which is the real questions that they ask you. And then you've got the, bread at the bottom, which is kind of your finishing up and how you close and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, keep that top piece of bread just
100%.
short and sweet. But so that's how I would kind of go about those questions. In terms of the situational questions, which is where the kind of storytelling technique comes in. Yeah, so this is more like the meat of the interview. So the situational questions that you would get asked are things like, tell me about a time when you did this, or have you ever been in a situation where this happened and what did you do, kind of thing, Generally, they're looking for like soft skills. So like talking about, your communication skills, your leadership skills, your teamwork skills. But if you are going for a job that requires like, I don't know, you're really good at Excel or some other kind of computer software, they might ask you about things like that too. But essentially, they're just looking for you to talk about your past experience.
Yeah. And I think I also want to see problem solving quite a bit in these questions as well.
Exactly. Yeah. They want to see what you personally did in that situation.
Yeah.
Like, they don't care about what everyone else did. What did you do? Right? And so the way that I like to answer those questions is with something called the STAR method. And so the STAR method is essentially, it stands for situational, task, action, and result, right? So the situation, what was the situation? Like, what were you doing? Where were you working? What was going on?
Set the scene.
Yes, exactly. The task is, what was your role? Like, what did you have to do? Like, let's say they were asking you about, a time when you had to like lead a group in a really weird circumstance, right? You talk about, okay, well, what was your role in that? Right? Then you get to the action. So the action that you took, what did you specifically do? Again, not what did everyone else do?
Yeah.
What did you do? Right? And then the result. So what ended up happening? Ultimately.
Super simple.
Yeah.
It's such a simple thing to follow, because I've heard another one, it's like car, circumstance, action, result.
Yeah. Same thing.
Same thing. Exactly. But it's so simple. And if you can practice that, you'll just get good at saying it naturally. You probably already say it naturally anyway. Like, we naturally start off by setting the scene and the situation. Then we go, and then we had to do this, and then I had to do this, and then I did it, and this is what happened.
Yeah.
But
100%.
by having a structure, you can keep it short and sweet and concise, and it's to the point without getting caught in the fluff.
Exactly. Yeah. It forces you to just keep it concise and not just rattle on for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Because we can do that like when we're nervous and stressed and worried. And
100%.
Like, we can just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and that's just not helping anyone.
So that's the situational questions. And do you have some memorized? Like, do you have some of those in the bank? So when they ask you that question, you're like, bang, because that's a pretty common question. Give us an example and if you're going for a certain job, you can probably guess what example they're going to give you. Like, if you're going for a management job, they're probably going to ask you a question about how you managed a team in the past.
Yeah.
So did you have those like memorized and ready?
Look, yes and no. So like, if I'm going for a job, and again, I will read that job description. And by reading that job description, I can probably work out pretty easily those types of questions that they're going to ask, because it's telling me what they're looking for. So if I know what they're looking for, I know what they're going to ask me about. So I'd look through that and I'd think of examples, but I also don't want to have like a script memorized, because then you can come across sounding super robotic and like rehearsed, and it just doesn't sound genuine. You want to sound authentic. So as long as you've kind of got that STAR method in your head, and you've maybe had 1 or 2 run-throughs of what you might say, and you've got your examples relatively clear in your head, I think you'll be okay.
And practice in the car on the drive there.
Totally.
Like just do your STAR over your head in your car. So they're probably going to ask me this question. So I'm going to go bang, 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 bang. That's my STAR. Just say it over in your head. Don't memorize it.
Yeah.
But just get that going.
Exactly.
And so by the time you've got it, you've already practiced it a little bit in your head so you can say it more concise.
Exactly. I was doing that on the drive here.
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder what Byron's going to ask me about. Oh, he's probably going to ask me about this, this, and this. Okay, I'll say this, this, and this.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're the situational questions. And then what happens after that? So what are we like, 10, 20 minutes in by now? What do you think?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, it'll really depend. If you've got a super formal interview, then, it's probably going to go for longer. If you've got a really like casual, just like chat with the owner of the business or whatever it is, it might only go for 10, 15 minutes. So it really just depends on the interview like that you're going into. The longest interview I think I've had is like 40 minutes.
I've actually had longer.
Oh, really?
Because once again, we were just chatting. It was so much fun. We just having, because I went for an interview before I got started in like a video job, and I was so ridiculously underqualified. Like they wanted someone with 3 years experience and they got a qualification. I was 18 years old with no experience. Yeah. And I've been doing video since I was a kid, but I had no graduated experience. And we were just chatting for ages and ages about video techniques and all the stuff I'd done. And it was really fun. I ended up getting I was the second person. I didn't get it, but I was the second. So I did like all experience and stuff. But that really made me realize how just by that personality thing we're talking about and fitting with the team culture, how far that will take you if you can figure it out.
Totally. Yeah. It's so important. And like, coming back to as well, just the start of the interview too, like you really want to be able to make a really good first impression. They always say that first impressions count and that they're, super important. I found out that a first impression is generally made within the first 7 to 17 seconds of meeting someone. Yeah. So that's like nothing. That's being like, hi, my name is, how are you? Like, that's it. That's your first impression. Yeah, like that's it. And a huge part of someone's first impression of you is your physical appearance. And like, obviously that's not ideal or optimal or whatever, but that's what reality, it is. Yeah, we're human beings. Like we categorize people based off of how they look, and that just is what it is. And so what you wear to a job interview is going to be really important as well. And my rule of thumb is generally dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. Right?
So if you're working McDonald's right now, or don't dress casually like you would, dress in a suit or something if you're going for a law or whatever it is.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're going for some like big corporate job, you're going to go full suit and tie, or, whatever it is, like you're going to dress very formally. But let's say you're going for a job at like some cool hip cafe to be like a barista. Well, if you dressed in like full corporate attire,
it's going to do you worse.
Yeah, exactly. They'd probably be like, you're not really the right culture fit for what we're looking for. So you've really got to find, that balance
I think it's kind of bit of intuition, but I think it's kind of obvious what you should be dressing.
I think so.
I think, the examples we've just given, when we brought them up, everyone knows if you're going for a law job, dress in a suit. Yes. If you're going for a barista job like that, don't dress in a suit. Dress more casual. It's
jeans and a nice top. Just be well put together.
It's pretty obvious, but once again, common sense isn't very common nowadays. And so just, do what makes sense. Dress
100%.
And do take, make sure your shirt's ironed and stuff.
Exactly.
Little stuff like that.
Yeah, like it's not hard, but it just makes the world of difference, and like be confident, smile. Yeah. Like have a good handshake. There's nothing worse than like a sloppy handshake. Yeah. Like just be genuine and authentic, and you'll make a good first impression.
Awesome. And so, we kind of jumped back to stage 1 there, but let's go forward to, I guess, wrapping up the interview. Yeah. Is that the step we're up to now?
I think so. Yeah. We kind of covered all the questions you might get asked. So finishing up an interview. Again, like I said, with that whole sandwich thing, you've got the first impression and starting the interview with the bread. You've got the meat, which is all the questions. And then you've got that final layer of bread at the bottom. And it's super important to, really make sure you finish strong. I think last impressions count just as much as a first impression.
100%. I would almost say more for a job interview.
Yeah.
Because that's how they remember you.
Yeah.
They'll, if you have a good first impression, they'll remember you like that. But if you have a really good first impression and a terrible last impression, they're going to remember you from the last one.
Exactly.
And because I've done quite a few job interviews and had out on the interviewing side, and I've had a few really bad last impressions. I'm like, oh, don't want them. It's like, bummer. Once again, I was supporting him, and then he does this silly stuff at the end. And I'm like, oh, damn it. You were doing so well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we're on your team.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to make sure that you finish strong. And a big part of finishing strong with an interview is always having questions, I think. It shows that you're engaged. It shows that you really care about, the interview and the job and all that sort of stuff. And so, I would 100% always want to ask questions at the end of an interview. They can be anything from, what would a successful person in this role look like?
That's a great question.
Yeah, or like, how is success measured in this role? Like, those are really, I think, really good ones that I would always ask, because you want to know, right? It shows that you really care about not just getting the role, but once you've got it, doing well.
Yeah.
Right? Things like, what does a typical shift or day look like in this role?
Honestly, if you just armed yourself with those two first ones you said, you're going to stick out.
Exactly.
Like, so what does a successful person look like in this role? I'm like, that's a great question. We're really looking for someone who's doing this. And then it also goes, oh, well, that's all I have to do. If I just follow that and I do that, they're probably going to really enjoy having me as an employee.
Exactly.
So it's also great for if you get the job.
Exactly. Like, up front what it is that they're looking for. So I would always recommend asking those questions. What's the best part of the role? What's the worst part of the role?
That's a good question. What's the worst part of the role?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that.
Like, because, you might hear what the worst part of the role is and think, actually, I don't want to do that.
Also, it's a good question. Like, most people won't ask that because it takes some guts to ask that question.
Yeah.
It's like, so what's the worst part of this role?
Yeah.
You know what? Thanks for asking that.
Yeah, exactly.
I doubt they get offended or anything, but it's like...
It makes you stand out.
Yeah, it makes you stand out. Like, that's really impressive. I've never had anyone ask that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like me doing my work experience at the law firm. Like, the worst part of the role was you're sitting at your desk 12 to 13 hours a day.
Hours. Yeah.
For me, if I heard that, I'd be like, I'm out of there.
Yeah.
Like, that's not for me.
100%.
So I think all those questions are super good to ask. Make sure you find out when you can expect to hear back. And then that's pretty much it. You just shake their hands, smile, be pleasant, be really grateful for their time, thank them for that, for the opportunity. Something I do recommend to people if they haven't had a lot of job interview experience is to ask for feedback.
Nice, yeah.
Again, it shows that you're wanting to improve and learn, and you're inquisitive, and don't do this if that they're interviewing like 200 other people, because that they probably don't have time.
Yeah.
But if you can ask them to follow up and just say, hey, can I send you an email in a day or two and get some feedback from you? And they're generally really fine with that. I've done it a lot, and it's really, really helped. Like, the worst thing you're going to say is, no, sorry, I don't have time.
And who would say no to giving someone feedback?
Exactly. The feedback that I've got when I've done that has been super helpful. It's really, really helped me for the next time I go for a job interview.
Yeah. And once again, it's a tiny little question. You just go, oh, sorry, just before we wrap up or something, like, do you mind if I send you an email after this just to get some feedback?
Yeah.
Because I'm really looking to improve my job technique, my interviewing technique.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, sure. Send me or send it to the assistant or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So it's super easy. It's a great way to get their contact details. And it'll always help.
And it's 2 days. If you send it 2 days later and say, hey, thanks for that interview, you had a good time, just ask about sending a feedback. Love to get your feedback or whatever. Now you've just triggered, oh yeah, that's that kid or whatever. So now you're on top of mind again. Forces
them to reflect on the interview that you did, especially if you nailed it. They'll be like, yeah, this is great. Let's hire this person. Yeah. So you just never know. And I really recommend doing that for people that haven't had a lot of interview experience.
Awesome. Are there any steps after that? Is that the whole thing?
That's pretty much it. I think, obviously it depends on, if you've got more rounds of job interviews or if you're going into assessment centers, and there's always more to talk about with it. But I think those are pretty much the basics. And I think if you can get those down pat, pretty strong, you should
awesome.
be okay.
And let's just go through it again. So step 1 with a resume, you said you want to put up some points that have actionable items in them.
Yeah. Just keep it super personal about what it is that you did to complete the goals of your role.
Yeah. And don't be scared to put stuff about you in there.
Yeah.
Like if you played soccer or you did this or something, it's that shows you're human and shows your personality across. And that's really important in a resume.
Yeah.
Once again, depending on, the role, but most jobs nowadays want to see that personality in their resume.
Totally. I always have a hobbies section in my resume.
Yeah.
And I always also have a career objective in my resume.
Nice.
What it is, little 2 sentences at the top of my resume, what it is that I'm about and why I'm wanting this role.
Cool. And so we've got resume, read the job description 10 times. Just read over and over again and pull out the key points that you think you can attack.
Yep.
Then we get in and we want to dress for the job we want, not the job we currently have. So we discuss that. Then you want to make a good first impression, which can be done by what you wear, and I guess confidence comes through.
Yeah.
Like be lovely to the assistant, or be nice to everyone. There was a story recently about some guy who went in and he was kind of rude to the assistant. Turns out the assistant was the person doing the interview, and he didn't get the job. Bang.
Yeah.
Missed out.
Yeah.
Not saying that's going to happen, but you just be nice to the assistant or whoever anyway.
Yeah.
Be respectful to the other people. If there's other people sitting next to you, meet them. And we got dress for the occasion, have that question ready.
Yeah. So like have an answer to the question of like why you want to work at this company, because you'll always get that question. And, just have some bullet points prepared for the typical questions that you'll get. Like tell me a bit about yourself or your experience, talk to me about your experience doing this. And then the situational questions of tell me about a time when you were in this position.
And that's using the STAR formula, which again is situation, task, action, and result.
That's it.
If you can, write that out or just Google the STAR formula, print it out and go over that in the car.
Yeah.
Then we get in, you nail that. And you want to and make sure you get across your qualifications, but more importantly, or as importantly, your personality and how you fit in with the team culture.
Yep.
Super important. And then we want to finish off by asking some thought-provoking questions, like the ones you suggested, which were like, what does a successful position look like in this role?
Yeah, like how is success measured in this role?
Yeah.
Like what does a successful person look like in this role? What's the best part of the role? What's the worst part of the role? Just be inquisitive and show that you care.
And then you're going to end up by saying, hey, do you mind if I send you an email asking for some feedback in about 2 days or so? And they're going to go, yeah, sure. Shake their hand, walk out, head high, then take a deep breath. You've done it.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's how to, it sounds simple, but so many people, as I mentioned before, common sense isn't very common and just people don't do it.
I know. I think a big thing as well is a lot of people just let nerves get the best of them in job interviews. They get so freaked out about what if I say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, can't, answer the question, I freeze and I can't think of an example and it just all goes south, right? It's like, well, again, knowing that the interviewer is there to make sure that you're having a positive experience is a big help. But also I like to go in with the mindset of like, is panicking and feeling anxious and stressed helping me right now?
No. It is definitely not going to help you.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds easier to say that.
Totally.
And it's like, bang, I've got no more anxiety. Like, it's not helping me.
I know, that's not,
But, obviously, that is a mindset you need to have. And it's the same with overthinking. Like, maybe you finish an interview and you go, I shouldn't have said that. You can't do anything now.
Totally.
It's over. Just accept it.
Totally.
I know it sounds silly, but you just got to accept it, and don't let it eat you up.
Exactly. It's not like that interviewer is telepathically connected to you.
Yeah.
And they're not thinking, oh yeah, Shana's really stressed about this job interview. You know what? I'm just going to give her the role because she's so stressed out. That's not how it's happening. So yeah, being stressed afterwards is just making yourself feel worse.
It's not going to help anyone.
Exactly. Being stressed in the interview is just probably you're not going to perform your best.
Yeah.
So yes, it's the thing of just saying is this helping me right now? I'm going to fix the problem. No, it's not. But if you can adopt that day in and day out, and I'm a big believer in fake it till you make it. So if you can just kind of put on that persona of is this helping me? And no, I'm a confident person and I'm feeling great about this. Eventually that's just going to become who you are.
Yeah. And I think I've spoken about fake it till you make it. And I think in this situation, it definitely applies. There's a lot of situations in the world where don't do it.
Totally.
But in this situation, you're just trying to fake your confidence almost. And that, what is confidence? It almost is. Before you have experience, you just got to do it. Almost. And
everyone's faking it till they make it.
Yeah, I know. And obviously confidence comes, I think, when you've got experience and preparation. But if you want to be less stressed, do more preparation.
Exactly.
Right? It's if you go in knowing, we just told you basically what they're going to ask you.
Yeah.
You can, and we just told you how to find the exact answers, which is in the job description.
Yeah.
If you think of it like that, okay, I've prepared all this stuff. This is a job I really want. I'm going to spend 5 hours preparing for it. You're going to go in way more confident. And then I think it's just a muscle. Just keep building that job interviewing muscle. You might have to do 20, 30 interviews. That's reality.
Exactly.
Especially with youth unemployment right now and coronavirus.
Yeah.
That's kind of the reality.
I know. There's so much more competition for jobs right now because, the youth unemployment rate skyrocketed with COVID.
Yeah.
I remember hearing this quote that was anxiety is the physical manifestation of a lack of preparation. And I love that because it's like, yeah, you're feeling stressed because you don't feel prepared enough to do this job interview. You don't feel like you have your answers down pat. You don't feel like you've got your examples all set. So if you can, acknowledge that and be like, all right, when I go in for this job interview, I'm going to really nail all my preparation. You got nothing to be stressed about.
Yeah. And sure, you'll still be stressed. You're human, right?
Yeah.
And understand everyone else is probably stressed as well.
Well, exactly.
And I think, if we were to write a formula for confidence, it would be preparation times experience.
100%.
So if you don't have experience, prepare.
Yeah.
If you've got experience, you probably don't need to prepare as much because you can just go in. Like, I don't prepare for my podcast nowhere near as much as I did before because I've got experience. I know how to talk. I'm comfortable now.
Yeah.
Whereas when I started, oh my God.
Yeah.
I spent like 6 months preparing for my podcast and like, what do I say? And now I love the fact that I don't prepare much because it feels more authentic and genuine.
Totally.
Obviously, we prepare a little bit, but like just jump into it.
Well, exactly. Yeah, it always comes across more authentic if you can do that. But yeah, like I'm the exact same. Like the first time I started talking about interviewing skills, like I was like, I prepped so hardcore. I ran through it so many times, like timing myself. And I know that when I came across, I wasn't as genuine, authentic as I probably am speaking about it now because I've done it a few times. I know what I'm talking about and it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's the same with preparing for job interviews. The first time you prepare an answer, you're going to be like, a bit robotic about it. But by the time you hopefully get into that interview room, it comes across like having a conversation.
And people that you see who you like might admire, or maybe they get up and they just public speak so easily. It makes whatever their job they're doing, they make it look so easy. That's because they're prepared or they've done it for 10 years or whatever. And it's like people who look the easiest have done the most preparation and the most, built that muscle 100 times.
Yeah.
I know people, public speakers, like every second night they speak in front of their wall for an hour. It's like, that's the reality. It's like it's not all sexy.
Exactly. Like no one sees all the hard work that goes into it. It's like being a lawyer and like watching Suits. You'd be like, this isn't real life. There's so much hard work that goes into making that cool moment in court happen.
Yeah.
Like you just see the tip of the iceberg in so many circumstances. And this is the exact same.
100%. And I guess before we wrap up, is there any more hot tips you want to do? I think Glassdoor, Glassdoor was a great little tech tool. So just Google Glassdoor. It's basically reviews of employees talking about the company and how they got in. I think another one you used was you could go find the company and find people within that company who are pretty low in their position on LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly. So I would always head to LinkedIn, especially if you're going for a job at kind of like a bigger company, because you know that people are going to be listing that they work there on LinkedIn. And so you can, search the company that you're applying for, look at, the people that have listed that they work there, find someone that's kind of like lower tier or lower ranking or just hasn't been working there that long, because chances are they've just successfully completed a job interview not that long ago, right? And so if they've done exactly what you're trying to do, if you can learn for them, well, great.
Exactly.
Right? So I would always go on LinkedIn and just message those people. Like people message people on LinkedIn all the time. And just be like, hey, I'm going in for this job interview at this company. I can see that, you've currently worked there. Would love to kind of hear if you have any thoughts or advice on the job interview experience and anything you think I should prepare for or know going in. Nine times out of 10, people are going to be like, I'll
and you can just copy and paste that script.
Exactly.
And to do it to 20 people.
Exactly.
I managed to get in touch with Canva. I messaged 40 people, I think. I just went through everyone who had anything to do with partnerships or brands, or I just went bang, just switched out the name, went bang. It was like, you only get, when you're messaging someone on LinkedIn, you get a very small amount of words. So it's got to be very concise. Yeah. Like, hey, I'm Ashana. I'm looking at getting into this company. I'd love to know what the job process was like. Yeah. Would you do you have 5 minutes for a call? Or 10 minutes for a call or whatever? Exactly. Bang. Like super easy. And so, that's definitely a pro tip is learn from the people that have done it successfully. Yeah. And it's so easy with LinkedIn because first of all, if you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn. Yes. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it just in the business world. And I think it's becoming a bit spammy. Yes. But for young people looking to get a job, it's a great opportunity. I've got friends who haven't even been looking for jobs, and just by having their account with what they're doing and studying, they've had people offer them jobs. Yeah. Just because they're looking. Yeah. And so, but it's super simple. So you search the company like Google, and Google's too big. Let's say Commonwealth Bank or something. Search Commonwealth Bank, and then it's going to pop up, and you can click employees, and it's going to show every single employee that's said they work for Commonwealth Bank on LinkedIn. Yep. And it's going to have their role, and you just filter through and look for someone you can actually filter through by like the years I've worked there. So you can really filter it down. So it's so easy for you to find these people.
Exactly. And it's a super common practice too. Like after I finished interning at Google, I had like next year's applicants send me messages because they could see that I was an intern at Google. And so they, you know, were writing to me about what I did and what the process was like and what they were looking for. And like, I'm happy to help out.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I want you to do well. So
Exactly.
sure.
And everyone wants to talk about themselves, right?
Exactly. We're like, hey, well, you know.
Oh, you want me to talk about how I got an amazing job? Sure.
Yeah, like, let's go.
Yeah. But that's a great tip. Like, I remember when you said that, I was like, oh, duh. It seems so obvious, but you need someone to tell you it. It's like,
Exactly.
go on LinkedIn, find people who have done what you're about to do, ask them for advice. You might ask them for advice and they might give you a good word or something. Like,
well, exactly.
Who knows what's going to happen from it?
Exactly. Like, you never know. So I always think that, like, think about the absolute worst case scenario for doing something. And if that worst case scenario is nothing happens, well,
risk
do
reward,
it.
right?
Exactly.
The risk is so low, but the reward is so high. Potential.
Exactly.
And you might say something, they might not respond. That's basically the worst thing. They is not going to respond.
Exactly.
And you move on.
Exactly.
So easy.
Yeah.
Any other tips like that you have for job interviewing or just getting a job?
Yeah, I mean, like I talked about sort of saying, you know, can you repeat the question? Another like good way to kind of give yourself a second is just to say, okay, can you just give me a moment?
Yeah.
Totally fine.
That's fine. Just ask for space.
Yeah. Like take 5-10 seconds. Don't take like 5 minutes, but take like 5-10 seconds and just like gather your thoughts and then go.
It's better than just like if they ask you a question, you go, sorry, just give me a second, and you think there. And as opposed to just saying nothing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like awkward.
Yeah.
If you give them a second, they're going to go, okay, yeah, and they'll just switch off for 10 seconds while you wait.
Exactly.
And then they'll come back in.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just a super easy way, especially if you're feeling a bit nervous, just take that deep breath and like launch into it.
Yeah.
It'll make your answer 10 times better.
Awesome. And so I'm going to give some advice as well. So because of the nature of my audience is quite young, you need to be... Not you need to, but I highly recommend being willing to take a pay cut or willing to like get across that you're not just in it for the money.
Yes.
So when I said I almost got that job, but I was completely underqualified for, they were paying 60,000. I said, you know, I'm willing to take a pay cut, and he'd be like, and it went down to 35,000, and I was still stoked with that. And I was like, yeah, I'm totally willing to do that. And so it shows it's not the money itself that's a point. It's a point to show that you're not in it for the money and you're more in it to learn and gain experience and all that sort of stuff, which is what I think you should be doing when you're young.
Totally.
Trying to get experience, build that muscle. So when you want to go for your dream job, you've got all that backed up and you don't just have a degree now. You've got a degree, you've got an internship, you've got work with this company and this company. And so I think be willing to work for free or try to get across and somehow you're not just in it for the money, because
100%.
that's the worst thing is if someone's just in it for the money.
And so many internships nowadays are unpaid anyways. Yeah. And like, honestly, the number of unpaid internships that I've done is ridiculous, but it has beefed up my resume.
Yeah.
That now I know that anytime I put my resume in, that I'm going to get a foot in the door and I'm going to get that job interview because I've got all this experience behind me. And yes, you know, I had to work an unpaid internship instead of maybe getting a part-time job during the summer holidays and getting that money.
19, 20?
Exactly.
Who cares?
Exactly. Like I was living at home.
Yeah.
I didn't have bills. Like it was easily like, it was such an easy decision.
Yeah.
Right. And so now I'm reaping the rewards of that though, because I didn't get paid back then, but I'm getting paid now because I got the job. Right. So it's the trade-off.
Yeah. And when you're 19, 20, honestly, anything below 25, it's like, you don't need that much money coming in.
You
Like,
don't.
You're still young. Like, especially if you're living at home, it's like,
Exactly.
you don't need to be driving a nice car. You don't need this stuff. Like recognize,
Yeah.
don't jump into it. You're not that entitled.
Totally.
Like and understand that by making these short-term sacrifices, long-term, it's going to be really beneficial. Exactly as you just said.
Yeah, exactly. So important.
Awesome. Well, let's jump into the final question. I'm sure you've probably know what's coming, but it's basically, what would your number one piece of advice be for the younger generation? Does not have to be job interview related, just anything. Obviously, you work exclusively with young people, with the company that you're involved in. So what would your number one piece of advice be?
I think just the first thing that just comes to my head is just to like care about one another more. Like, I think technology has made it so easy for people to just disconnect. And I think that if young people took the time to just have more conversations with the people around them, not just their friends, but like older people, younger people, like really connect with like a community. I think that it's not like, it's going to make such a big difference to just their overall well-being, their relationships, their happiness, their positivity. I think that, if by just disconnecting from, and I don't mean to make it about like technology or social media or anything that, but I just think that like young people have certainly, I think, from what I've seen, have lost the ability to build really like rewarding relationships with other people.
100% they have.
Yeah.
It's something I've been exploring a lot lately. Like my relationships have been so good lately with the people I've met, and I was like, is this what I've been missing out on? Didn't even realize it. And I talk about a lot because I talk about mental health so much. And Brent even said, like, I don't know if you've seen it, past 5 years, he's noticing a huge change in kids.
Yeah.
Not as many people are raising their hands. There's not many leaders in the room at the events. There's not as many people who are outgoing. Yeah. Everyone's kind of like awkward and like, because we're so used to being online. Exactly.
Like you can have these very like surface level relationships with people just through like, online forms of communication. And ultimately that's just not helping you. It's not helping them. It's not helping anyone. And it's ultimately, I think, causing the younger generation to just feel very flat.
But then you justify by saying, oh no, I've got lots of friends and lots of relationships.
It's like, no, you don't.
You actually don't. That's what you think. That's a perception you have because you've got lots of friends or lots of likes.
Exactly.
But you don't actually have that many strong connections. I'd rather have 10 deep connections than 100 people that are liking my photos or whatever.
Exactly.
And, this comes up a lot in this podcast, obviously, because it's so important.
Totally. I know. Yeah. And just to kind of, again, link it back to job interviews, if you are good at having conversations with people, how much better are you going to be like in that like pressure conversation environment, And
I've been saying this a lot, but like, as we just mentioned, most people aren't good at it. So if you can develop these skills, you're going to be so far ahead of everyone else in this generation.
Exactly.
Like, I love Gen Z, but I also think they lack so many social skills.
Yeah.
Like, they think they're very social because they can send Snapchats and stuff. But when it's in person, they actually lack the deep conversation skills. So if you've got those skills and you go in a job interview, they'll be like, wow.
Yeah. I know. The saddest thing I see is when I see like two friends sitting there and they're like at dinner or something like that and they're both like on their phone. Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I almost want to go over and be like, excuse me, like, can you talk to each other, please?
And I just want to say, we're both 22. We're not boomers saying this.
No.
We're 22-year-olds saying this. So don't think we're like some old adult saying this.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I think that also shows you how quickly the change is being seen. Like, I'm 22 and I'm saying this about like a 15 or 16-year-old right now. Like, the age difference is like 6 or 7 years, but the difference in like behaviors is so different.
I actually haven't done this, I want to do it, but I know rules where people will go at like a boys' night out or something and they'll say, if you get your phone out, you got to buy the whole table drinks.
I love that.
Or and so I don't know if they keep their phones in the middle or something, but if you check your phone, you got to buy a whole table drinks. And it's like, that's great. Yeah. Love that. And just setting, good. And it's a fun little game. It's like if someone buys a drink, they're like, hey, and it's like, what's that, like $100? You got 10 guys. So don't pick up your phone.
Yeah, exactly. Risk versus reward.
Yeah.
Like,
you can go on your phone when you get home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I love that point. But Ashana, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
If people want to get in touch with you, have a chat with you, or find out more about kind of what you're doing, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, look, you can certainly like add me on LinkedIn, shoot me an email, or any social medias will do. Yeah,
and that'll all be linked in below.
Perfect.
And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Awesome, thanks so much.
That's it for this episode of the Driven Young podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the entire episode. That means the world to me. And if you got some value out of it, please shoot me a message on Instagram or reach out to me. Or I would love for you to leave a rating or review on this podcast. So make sure you are subscribed, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.